Welcome to Setting the Table, hosted by Robin B., where we bring you the insider's scoop from top restaurateurs, industry experts, and creative minds who know what it takes to stand out and succeed. Hungry for insights on how to fuel your growth and stay ahead of the curve? You've just found your secret ingredient.
Today on Setting the Table, we're joined by someone who helps restaurants tackle behind-the-scenes issues that can lead to fires, pest problems, and costly shutdowns. Today's guest is Tran, founder of Albedo's Return Power Washing. She specializes in helping restaurants stay compliant, inspection ready, and safe by keeping critical areas like the kitchen exhaust systems, rooftops, and exterior surfaces cleaned and maintained. She combines technical expertise with a deep understanding of compliance and risk, making her the perfect guest for today's episode on how smart cleaning practices protect your restaurant from serious safety and health issues. And welcome to Setting the Table. We're so glad you're here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. We're just going to dive right in. So first, before we really get started into more of the questions, I want to just hear a quick synopsis of your background, how you started your company, what led you to do what you do.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. And my background has nothing to do with power washing. My background is in accounting, and I've been a realtor for over 10 years, and I got my mortgage loan officer license 3 years ago. So I've been in the real estate realm for a while, but with my accounting background, entrepreneurship, understanding how businesses operate was my main passion and focus. And so with everything going on in the world, I figured it was a good time to pivot, and power washing checked off all the boxes that I was thinking about and concerned about. And not only that, but power washing is fun. I can't imagine not getting into it. I enjoy doing it. And then also, I've been a food server. I've been a bartender. I've been in the hospitality hotel industry by proxy because I have an ex-boyfriend who worked for the Meridian chain and the Ritz-Carlton chain. So I got to see the operation from there. And now I get to help with the operation of restaurant ownership and maintaining health and sanitary environments.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you have the perfect background for this. So, your company's name is pretty unique, Albedo, right?
Yes.
So what does that mean? Like, what's behind the name?
Albedo was introduced to me by a friend of mine who was going through the A&M construction science program. And I wanted something unique, something that was catchy, didn't really want my name on it in a sense. And he was quick to say Albedo's return, or Albedo's return. And Albedo means the return of light reflecting off a surface. So you often hear it in astrological environments and also physics environments as well. But I thought it was it was unique initially. It wasn't grasping it. And then as I processed it, I really liked it. And it's a great way to segue into conversations about what I do and what it means. And I love it because it's when things are grimy and dirty, dirt absorbs light. So when you clean it off, now you have a chance for lights to bounce back up again and reflect because it's clean.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so clever. And it gives you a visual of exactly what you do. So that's great. Okay. Awesome. So let's start off by just talking about what you do. So you offer, hood cleaning services, but you offer a lot more than that, right? So maybe just talk about what you do. And so we have an idea of your experience and sort of your expertise.
Oh yeah. When I got into this business, I knew kind of the service level of what is entailed in terms of maintaining a kitchen. Your grease filters, your exhaust fans, your ducts, all that stuff seems kind of straightforward. You're wrapping the kitchen, protecting it, and degreasing that area to prevent fires, mind you. But as I learned more and more every day in this business, there's so much more. We're there not just to detail your kitchen. We're there to prevent fires. We're there to make sure that you're not having any operational delays or any kind of sanitary issues or any fines from the Department of Health. So what that entails is basically me coming in, assessing your property, the filters behind the filters, the duct, getting on the roof, figuring out where the exhaust fan is, where the discharge air goes, assessing that area, whether the roof has been neglected and needs to be also degreased, because grease will start to deteriorate surfaces pretty quickly. And then also, if you're in a high-rise multi-level building, you don't have a very straightforward system. you're going to have a ductwork system like hospitals. And so when they need like good exhaust systems to, make sure the air is clean. So oftentimes these buildings, these restaurants will use these inline units. So these units need extra care, and then these ducts as well. So if you don't have the right team involved to maintain these ducts, and you're not getting up there yourself to inspect, it could possibly be a big liability down the road.
For sure. And then you also like do the pads outside where the garbage is, right? So tell like why do those? What is the importance of that piece?
Thank you for bringing that around. Yeah. So not only do I want to do just vent hood and help restaurants maintain their kitchens, prevent fires, I want to be a one-stop shop for them and let them know that I can do more things for them, like pads, like dumpster pad sanitization. Because if you neglect your dumpster pads, it starts to smell. It starts to attract rodents, mice, cockroaches, which probably end up spreading to further areas. And you don't want your guests smelling garbage as well, right? So
Right.
and it will add up if you don't, or build up, I should say, if you don't maintain it on a regular basis. So, being wanting to be a one-stop shop partner for your restaurant business, I can handle your exterior surfaces, your dumpster pad sanitization, your vent hood cleaning, your roof cleaning. Like, let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Let's figure out how to make this work for everybody, so your business stays in business.
Nice, nice. So when you talk about cleaning, like really, it's obviously there's to the eyes. So like your name, you see the reflection, but then there's of course inspections, right? There's sanitary, there's fire prevention. But you mentioned it just briefly, but there's perception to your customers, right? If they come in and they do not see a clean environment, if they can see the kitchen and it doesn't look clean, if they walk outside and there's a terrible odor coming out of your dumpster area, all of this like levels up to the experience that a restaurant is giving their customers, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, one restaurant I went into was on the bottom floor of a multi high-rise building, and so their exhaust system was pretty complex in a sense, but they were neglecting it, and so their kitchen was building up with smoke, and it smelled like food still lingering around. And even though the exhaust fan was on, you can hear it. It just wasn't working, and that's because the fan was probably dripping and laden with grease, and so
Oh
the
my
fan couldn't work
gosh.
as much
That's
anymore,
that's
right?
pretty gross just visually, right? And then of course like the smell, I mean smell's one of your main senses. So I
And
mean,
grease.
yeah.
If you're working in the kitchen or or just a patron of the restaurant, if there are greasy floors, even after you've mopped it, all that stuff, it's most likely might be an exhaust system issue.
Yeah, and dangerous.
Oh yeah, when you
Yeah,
slip and falls, I mean that's not fun.
exactly. Okay, okay. So important stuff, right? It seems, oh, it's just cleaning, it's power washing, it's taking care of these things, but these are things that are pretty essential for a restaurateur, operator or manager to be paying attention to and regularly dealing with. So you're local, like you're working in Houston. I know that you're predominantly working in Houston. We're going to talk about why vent hood and cleaning is important for any restaurant anywhere around the country, but specifically for you, you're in Houston. I'm curious what like there's some big national providers or franchises that do this kind of work too. Like, is there a benefit to using someone local that is in your area versus a national franchise, or kind of what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there are definitely a number of players in this field, and franchise corporate players are one of them. And I mean, they've got their system; they're great, but there's no personable relationship going on. I imagine communication is sparse. You call them up, say you need somebody, you bring, and they come out, and that's it. And you just trust them because they're a national brand, and so you expect them to do what they're asked to do. And so what I've learned is like a lot of times, some of these national brands will just reach out to an operator in the town they're looking to operate in, and then that operator will operate as a franchise in a sense, and you don't know how they're operating, so they'll just reach out to people on Craigslist or whatever, Indeed, and find their people who have experience, right? And you don't know if they're certified or not, whatever. Because and this, who know? I'm not familiar with all corporate franchisees, but with me, I like things to change where you at least have a conversation, a relationship with the person to help maintain your business, not some app or some website or some person on a 1-800 number to talk to schedule things up. I have the accounting background and I love business. So I want to make sure we talk about your business and how I can help you maintain it and, keep it
Right.
successful.
Right. And you have an internal staff, like you have people who you know and trust do this day in and day out, which is probably what restaurateurs need to be thinking about, right? So whoever you hire, whether local, franchise, or whatever, just make sure they have a legitimate operation set up that does the things that are necessary to really deliver on these
With that being
areas.
said, because it's my business, my reputation, my image, I make sure that my guys, my team players, I want to make sure they're certified, they know what they're doing because this work is difficult. It's not easy. It's dirty work. Not everybody wants to do it, but there is an interesting niche of guys and people who like doing it. It's
Yeah.
evening work. You're left alone, and you've got a project to do. You complete it, and you feel great. So
Yeah, I mean, you see the results, not like, one of those things where you don't know, I mean, as a restaurant owner operator, you're going to be able to tell when something's done well because it's clean, very clean. But behind the scenes, you do need to be able to trust that group. So, okay.
well,
So
that
then how often should restaurants be doing this kind of cleaning and work to ensure, I think the big one is fires, right?
yes.
Keeping those vents clean. Grease fires are terrible and they happen. And so, how often are you recommending that these sort of services happen?
Well, 65% of fires happen in the kitchen from grease fires. So that's interesting stat. And so, Department of Health requires every 3 months, depending on how busy you are and how frequently you use your grill. If you're like a barbecue shop or a place that just constantly cooks every day, heavy, sugary, greasy laden food, then oftentimes, once a month is needed, right? Especially for barbecue spots because they're constantly using their grills. But 3 months is what's required, and if you're not as busy, you don't cook a lot of really, greasy food, then 6 months is good. And then when it comes to your exterior surfaces, that's up to your discretion. Once a year, feel like is a good frequent amount of time, unless you're
Yeah,
super busy.
unless there's obviously a lot of smelly garbage, right, or something that's affecting that experience, it
The
might need to be more
dumpster
frequent.
patch should be done at least once a month, or even quarterly as well. I prefer if we're going to come out and do your vent hoods, let's do it all. Let's do your dumpster pad, let's do your exterior services, and let me bring my guys out and let's get the team on it. That's how I feel about it all.
And do you find that there's certain cuisines that maybe need it more frequently than others?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. In the industry, a lot of people will reluctantly say it, but we all know it. But a lot of the Asian foods, Indian, Chinese, all that stuff, they oftentimes use sugary, greasy, ingredients, which will make the grease a lot harder and difficult to work with. So yeah, those places definitely will need a lot more attention. Those the bill on that will be a lot more because there's oftentimes the buildup is so greasy, so difficult to take care and deal with. But yeah, that's those restaurants usually barbecue spots, Asian restaurants, anything with really sugary, greasy oil foods.
Okay. And then for owners who maybe don't know what to expect, like what should a hood system or dumpster pad cleaning include? Like what are the things that it should include when someone from start to finish comes in?
Well, it starts with a quote. You need somebody to come out and assess your situation, take pictures, look at the roof. There are places that have exhaust fans that don't have hinges, so you can open up the exhaust fan situation and look into the duct. So some of them will need hinges to be installed. Some of them won't even get us access, allow us access into the duct, right? So then we got to let them know all these things. So a quote to start. Once you get the quote, I prefer to provide a report with pictures of what we found. Then we go through the proposal of what it's going to cost for your first service, which normally costs more than your frequent service. You should think about having a contract with a service provider. Give them a year or two, of commitment to see how they function. But also, you're always open to cancel that contract too. No one's gonna, keep bind you to it. But it's nice to have that contract for the service provider. Then when the crew comes in, either be present or trust them to allow them access. Normally, work is done after hours or after operational times. And then I will you should be expecting a report with before and after pictures. I think that should be a given. That shouldn't even be asked. It should be part of your final, invoice, payment, report, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then from there, provide a sticker for your vent hood so that Department of Health can see that it's been done. And then what else? I think that's it. And then communication, good communication, good relationship rapport, and know when you're coming back in 3 months. At least some kind of notice saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, we're coming back."
That's good advice. I like the before and after pictures too, right? There's nothing that tells you more than imagery that what's happened and what has taken place during that cleaning. Speaking of like, so it's you mentioned certification. What certifications actually are needed for vent hood cleaning and maybe some of the other things that you guys do?
Um, so yeah, in Texas, it's not required to be certified, but we're changing that. It's in the works to change for these vent hood technicians to start being certified. Ductwork, exhaust system, cleaning it is again not easy, and a lot of players in the game are not certified. They just come in and do the work, and it's really not difficult work, right? You go in, you wrap a kitchen, and then you go in, you spray chemicals, and then you rinse it. I mean, it's hard work, but and people can figure out how to do it, but there's so much more nuances to it to know about and why you need to get it done and what you need to be mindful about and how to remedy it if you do see it, especially ductwork like access panels, filters for the PCU system, knowing how to get there, not being intimidated by it. And if you're not certified or trained well by the right people, then you're not getting the service that you're supposed to be getting if you're hiring these people, right? So
Right.
it was changing in Houston. I met a gentleman who wants to change the way vent hood cleaning is done with the technicians, and that's having them certified. I think that's a
Yeah.
good way to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially when you're trusting that these vents are getting cleaned to the point where you're not going to have to worry about like the fires that can happen from built up grease and so forth in those systems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just, as restaurant owners, we just talked about like the cheapest may not be the way to go. So, what should restaurant owners look for when hiring this kind of service? Like, are there certain, I mean, I always encourage people on any kind of vendor to look at their reviews, to look at their history. How long have they been in business? Ask maybe for some examples of what they've done if they have them. But is there, you said you've talked about certification. Like, what are the things you recommend?
So my mind was going through a lot of things there, and so definitely reviews, research their background. A lot of time, restaurateurs, it's about the money. And that's where I was stuck on my head. It was like, oh, they're always thinking about how much it's going to cost. And oftentimes, people choose the cheapest price, right? When you choose the cheapest, why? You're not getting your sticker. You're not getting a guy who knows what's going on. You're not getting process procedures. You're not getting someone who's insured. You're not getting someone you can talk to and will be present for your next round. You're a toss up, right? And again, you're not getting before and after pictures if you're not asking for it and they're not giving it to you. So I feel like not only that, things to factor in when you're budgeting in for this kind of service is how much time it takes to get it done. How important is it to have it done? Like, is it something that you would do? Would you want to get on a roof? Is it dangerous? Right? Is it chemicals, caustic chemicals, getting dirty? So this is a very it's not a cheap job, put it that way.
Yeah.
So I would expect to pay middle ground, get your before and after pictures, get the right have someone you can talk to and have a relationship with. Definitely check before and after. I mean, check their references and their reviews. But if they're new, they may not have a lot to work with. So make sure you're talking with that person, especially if they're giving you like a full comprehensive quote, proposal, pictures of before and after. And, they're willing to also, like for me, I also want to help you market your business. I mean, how wonderful would it be, for a vent hood company and they say, hey, not only do we clean this restaurant, but they've got great food too, right? And I'm going to go, because I know it's good to go, I'm safe
Yeah,
there.
for
So
sure.
so there's so many good ways to go, like so many reasons to go with somebody who's not the cheapest and someone local, because
Yeah.
someone, help you in more ways than just clean your vent hood.
Right. Well, and is there anything, do you know, in insurance policies that require vent hood cleaning? Like, is there anything tied to it for insurance purposes?
Well, I'm not in the insurance world, so, but I do know it's required. I do know that if it's not done, your insurance could be, canceled. If you're not getting it done, so many other things can happen, lawsuits, operational delays, all fires. But as a business owner, it's something you need for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000 reasons why taking care of keeping your kitchen and facility clean is essential. So, I mean, it's just one of many. So, okay. And then what are some of the biggest mistakes that you kind of come across as far as operators, maybe in how they are doing their ongoing cleaning or taking care of their vent hoods or so forth? Is there sort of some common mistakes that if they didn't do it, maybe they wouldn't get as bad. So when they do have to get cleaned, it's not so expensive or so difficult?
so frequent cleaning makes it easier for the servicer to manage things. If you're using a new provider, like the first service is going to be more expensive because they're assessing everything and making, just making sure there's not well, they're always assuming there's more buildup and there's some kind of, challenges, obstacles that might occur anyways. But once we mitigate that, the next service will be usually cheaper. And the more you do business with them, the more, returns you get in that sense.
But are there some best practices for things that restaurants should be doing to keep their systems clean in between that maybe someone like yourself isn't doing, but like in between they should daily cleanings of their grease area with certain chemicals or different things? Do you know of any of those things that you kind of encourage restaurant owners and operators to do to help minimize the risk of fire in the interim of these more thorough cleanings?
Yeah, definitely frequent maintenance of your equipment, cleaning them at the end of the day, their fryers, burners, grills. Some of my favorite clients are those who take the filters, the baffer filters that are directly above the grill area, and they clean that themselves on a weekly basis or monthly basis or whatever case they want to. But they're not getting into the ducts, right? And they're not getting into the pelham and they're not getting into the exhaust fans. But in the meantime, in between all that, yes, definitely maintain, degreasing or cleaning the grills and burners and taking those baffer filters off and putting them in the dishwasher. But for grease is grease. You gotta work. You have an operation to operate. Cook as much as you want to cook, right?
Yeah,
We'll
yeah. So
take care of
there is that, making sure you do have that process in place on a regular basis to try to keep it as clean as you can, and then you have the deep, thorough cleaning every month or every quarter or
yeah.
whatnot, as we've discussed. So awesome. So the dumpster cleaning, unlike the vents, doesn't necessarily have a required inspection on the ongoing regular basis, but it does have huge implications towards pest control as well as sanitary. Um, is there anything with the city that they come and they do check around the dumpsters, or is that really a self-monitored, self assessment type of thing restaurants should be paying attention to?
I would go with the latter thing that you just said is something that they need to self-assess themselves and be mindful about. But I imagine like the Department of Health does come around and do their inspections, and if they see it that it's run down or neglected or smelly, I'm sure they'll say something and maybe even give them a warning or a fine in order to remedy it ASAP.
Yeah, well, and I think the bigger thing is, if you have a lot of food, a lot of debris, a lot of stuff on the ground or on the dumpster itself. I mean, it's right next to your facility. That attracts rodents, it attracts pests. It's gross, right?
It smells
Forgetting about
too.
the experience we talked about for consumers where they can see, they walk by. I mean, most of the time, it may not be in the public eye of right in front of the restaurant, but, they still can smell and they may walk by it. So I do think it's an important piece of the maintenance pie that should be maintained.
Oh, for sure. I visited this one restaurant and their employees were the ones complaining because every time they would have to go to the dumpster to, dump their trash, it just smelled horrid. And they're like, please talk to property management. Please talk to somebody to have this fixed. Well, all right. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. This has been great. I think super valuable. So I want to give you an opportunity to tell whoever's listening if they would like to work with you there in Houston, how to get a hold of you.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've got a Google page. You've got my email address, info@Albedo's Return Power Washing. Albedo's Return Power. I'm sorry. Info@albedosreturn.com. My website as well is a great source. My number, 832-303-2133. Call me, text me, prefer. And then from there, we can basically set an appointment. Let's meet up. Let's talk about what your needs are and see if there's something I can, help you with and see if you want to work with me because you'll be working with me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne, for coming on the episode today. I think this was really helpful.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to talking more about this stuff.
Thank you. All right, everybody, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and be on the lookout for the next episode as well.